Welcome to the School Run. I'm Jane.
And I'm Liv.
And we are going to share with you the best conversations we have on our school run.
We will invite guests and debate topics that affect and resonate with every generation.
We all remember our own school run, so maybe have a think about yours.
What do you remember? Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the School Run. It's a bit different this time, as you might realise, seeing as I never open up an episode. It's usually Mum. But we're going to switch it around a bit this week, and I am going to interview the one and only Mrs. Jane James, who's sat across from me. So, hello, introduce yourself.
Hi! Why are you interviewing me this time? This is one of our weeks of chatting together, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so that people know more about us, and we always talking to different people, and I think it's good that they understand us as well.
Yeah, we were having that lunch a few weeks ago, weren't we, when we'd done a podcast episode, I think with Gary Keedy, and we had a lovely Sunday lunch together, dessert, then we got round the piano and we were all singing and chatting, and Andrea and Gary both said, why don't you do an episode a bit deeper about your mum and what her life's been like? So I'm very pleased to be here, Liv, being interviewed by you. I suppose this week it is a little bit of a change.
Yeah. I'm nervous. Okay, well, first question. I don't know, I haven't really thought about questions, actually, because obviously I know you, so. But for everybody else, well, where do you want to start?
Should we start way back at the beginning?
Yeah.
What do you know about my childhood, I guess?
I know you have two sisters.
I sure do.
Claire and Hannah, who are probably listening.
They will probably be listening. Yes, two sisters. There's a big gap between me and my next sister down, and then our younger sister Hannah. I was 16 when my youngest sister was born and came along. We were like two mums to her in those days. We had a wonderful childhood, really, really happy family childhood. Grandparents, aunties, uncles, loads of cousins. My mum's family is enormous. My dad's family is quite small, but we're all really close. And I suppose at school, primary school was where my singing voice was sort of discovered. It was a nativity play, and I was playing the role of Mary. Mrs. Doxy, my teacher then, had chosen me to play the role of Mary, and my grandparents and my parents came to watch, and I sang these solos on the stage. One was called She's Only a Baby. And after that event, I just wanted to learn to sing, and my mum found me a singing teacher. I was already playing piano. I'd played piano since from about 4 or 5 years old. At first they wouldn't take me because I wasn't tall enough when I was sat on the seat to be able to get my hands on the piano, but I really wanted to learn the piano. There was a piano in my grandmother's house, my mum's house, and I really wanted it, and my mum said the only way you're going to be allowed that piano in our house is if you learn to play it properly.
She's not just banging on it.
Yeah, not just banging on it. So she got me lessons, but at the Blackburn School of Music, but actually I was just too small, but I was very determined even at that very young age that I wanted to play. So I started piano lessons, and then obviously when my singing voice came out, started singing lessons, and it just developed from there, really.
Yeah, we are still trying to wonder where the singing gene came from, because it didn't come from my grandma or grandpa. So if they're listening, they're probably laughing. They like to sing. They haven't got your voice, so we are wondering where it's come from.
They say it skips a generation. I think that one of my aunties said that my grandfather's great-grandfather, so that would be your grandma's grandfather, had a very good voice. And I think he was the one that played the piano, although my mum may correct me. I think years ago it was very much a piano was a piece of furniture in someone's home. certainly of my grandparents and great-grandparents' generations, a piano was in the home, in the drawing room or in the front room or whatever, and it was a source of entertainment, I guess, because there wouldn't have been TV and radio and all of those kind of things, decades and decades and decades ago. So I suppose sometimes things skip a generation. That's what they say, isn't it?
Yeah. I know that. I think that's why maybe I started having piano lessons. Maybe why you wanted me to go and have piano lessons, which I did for quite a long time. And then I stopped just because I didn't like. We're very different in how we play the piano. I mean, I can't play as well as you, like nowhere near as good as you, but you can pick up any book of music and just read it and play it. Whereas I don't learn it by reading the notes. I sing the note in my head and then find the right key.
You've got an amazing ear. You've got a beautiful ear for music, which I don't have. It's a skill that I just don't have, and you have that skill. And it's really interesting that we're very different. I mean, obviously you grew up in our home with a piano, because I had this piano from my great-grandparents in our home for many years, and then as my piano playing progressed and my singing, my grandparents bought me a new piano, a beautiful, beautiful piano. And we've had that in our home ever since. In fact, we've still got it here, haven't we? Yeah. It's an upright grand. It's a Rogers. It was, which is a bit boring for some people to know, I suppose, but it was the last run of British pianos. They don't make pianos in the UK anymore. They're made elsewhere, to the best of my knowledge. And so ours was the last of the British run, and my grandparents bought me that. So you grew up with a piano in our house, and I think probably the same thing that I'd learnt from my mum. We're not having you just banging on it. You've got to learn how to play it. So you went for lessons. I mean, you did violin lessons, you did guitar lessons, you did Little Voices, you've done all sorts, dance lessons. And you played up to it. Was it grade 3, your last grade? Piano?
Maybe,
but then you just didn't like the discipline of the notes, did you?
No, I didn't like the fact that you actually had to read it. I just wanted to sing the song, and then as I sung the note, play that note on the piano. Which is sometimes I'll just go downstairs and I fancy having a little play, and I'll just go on YouTube and I'll sing a song and then just learn how to play it from singing it, basically. But yeah, going on your childhood, this is always the one story that I remember from your childhood, which I think it's really funny, but I'm
dreading thinking what you're going to come out with now. I really am. I've no idea what you're going to share.
You and Auntie Claire, I remember you always used to, mess around with Auntie Claire. You were a bit mean to her. Can I finish my story?
Okay, I was mean to her, apparently.
Yeah, which I think Auntie Claire will agree when you were a bit younger. But you always used to, every time she had an advent calendar, what you'd do is you'd get her advent calendar before she woke up, and you'd cut the chocolate out of the back of it and eat it. So then she woke up and still thought there was a chocolate in it because the front hadn't been opened. And then she opened it and you'd already eaten the chocolate, which is mean.
It was mean. I was not a very nice older sister, I don't think. You fancy eating all of your sisters'
That's really horrible.
It's just terrible, isn't it? It is. And Auntie Claire's so kind and so lovely, and
she is.
She is gorgeous. So, no, that wasn't very nice. Honestly, Olivia, I really never know what's going to come out of your mouth on these podcast episodes.
Loads of people have said that to me this weekend. My friends came round and they said, "Liv, I never know what's going to come out of your mouth or what you're going to do next. You're so unpredictable." And I said, "Yeah, that's how I like being. Nobody knows what I'm going to do or say."
Oh my goodness. So I guess after obviously teenage years, I just loved my singing. I wanted to take it to another level. My mum rang the Royal Northern College of Music. She researched the best teachers, and she trialled me with different teachers, and we found someone over in Lytham St Anne's. So she used to drive me over to Lytham St Anne's. She drove me all over the place to singing festivals, concerts. We spent all day at Hannah as a baby was in a little carry cot, and my grandma used to come, my mum was there, a picnic, and they'd be there all day at these singing festivals and competing. And I absolutely loved singing. I just loved singing. And it continued through school, doing the performances. I was lucky enough to perform with Philip Schofield in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I know there'll be some people listening who were also in that choir when we're in that professional, the Really Useful Theatre Company, working with them at Blackpool Winter Gardens.
I remember you took me to watch that. Not when you were in it, obviously, because that's when you're a lot younger. That wouldn't make sense. But we went to watch Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat because we love going out on musical theatre trips, which obviously you have Little Voices now and it's all musical theatre. However, we went to the theatre with Ant, who is not a musical theatre guy whatsoever. He's not into the theatre music or anything. He's more into like the 80s and the 90s. But we took him to watch Les Mis, and it was just incredible. It was absolutely amazing. I think the theatre is just such an amazing place. And even last night there was that show on, the National Lottery's Big Night of Musicals. We were singing all the way through it, and it was just amazing.
Music's really emotional though, isn't it? I mean, yeah. I was watching it and filling up with tears, and you were singing along, I was joining in. When I start singing, you stop singing. I don't know why you do that.
I do that because there's no point in me competing with you because you're much better. So I just stop singing. I'll just let you sing.
And you've got a beautiful voice. So
and by the way, that's a little hint to the end of this podcast. We might have a little singing surprise at the end, so
really?
stay tuned for that.
Oh my goodness, I really never know where these episodes are going to go, and it scares me. And Olivia's the editor, and I need her. I can't do any of the editing. So goodness knows what will happen, but we'll see. But music's been a huge part of our life. Like, sport's a massive part of your life, but music's equally a massive part. You listen to it, you've got it in your earphones, you listen to it when you're revising, you listen to it going to sleep, we go to the theatre.
Which is why, sorry to interrupt, but it's, I remember on the episode and someone came up to me and they found it funny that it was in the first episode or something, or one of the first episodes, and I said, I don't listen to podcasts, I listen to music. And they thought that, they were like, I found that really funny because you're literally doing a podcast. But no, music is like absolutely massive in my life and your life as well.
It absolutely is, and it just moves you. And music can lift you up. It can help you when you're feeling less sprightly on a day. It can just reflect all emotions, can't it? Yeah. I love music at funerals. I love music at weddings. You're looking at me really strange, but I do. It's just really powerful.
And it is very like. We go to this is another funny story. I know this is interviewing you, but I've just got so many funny stories. So this year, every Christmas, me and our family, so me and my mum and my grandma and my two aunties and now my little cousin Ella,
Alfie.
Alfie didn't come this year.
Oh no, he didn't. He stayed with the boys, didn't he?
Yeah. We went to church on Christmas Eve. So every Christmas Eve we all go to church and then we go back to my auntie's house and we have pie and a little celebration before Christmas Day. And honestly, I tell you, when you sit next to mum in church or anywhere where there's going to be songs, you know, it's very loud. So
me trying to sing.
Yes, in a very good way.
I'm trying to sing quietly and within the crowd.
So this year, Grandma said, I want to sit next to your mum so it makes me sound like I can sing as well. Because it's so loud, people might think that I'm able to sing. Anyway, I ended up sitting next to mum, and what we realised at the end is there was this lady sat next to mum on the other side, on the other bench, trying to compete with her. So we had mum and this other lady both singing as loud as they could. This woman trying to outcompete mum in singing, and I was thinking, you ain't gonna do it, love, I'm sorry, but she will beat you any day. And then the poor guy playing the little keyboard had to keep turning the volume up on the keyboard.
You're adding bits on now. I think you're adding bits on.
I'm honestly not, but...
It's quite hard to sing "O Come, O Ye Faithful" when you've been trained as an opera singer in a very, very quiet voice. It's just comes naturally. I can't help it. It's my voice.
It's beautiful to sit next to. It's more not as good when you're warming up downstairs and I'm trying to get to sleep. But I still like it though.
Yeah, that's rare because I don't really use my voice all that much these days in my role in what I do. But it is. We do some singing after Sunday roast sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. So yeah, obviously off to did Joseph and the Amazing Technical Dreamcoat at school. I think I was about 14, 15, your age, year 10 when we did that, which was an amazing experience. We had to compete as choirs, and we won and did that for a run. I don't know whether it was about 12 weeks or 16 weeks, but it was absolutely phenomenal to work with a professional cast. And on one of the biggest stages in Europe, which is the stage in Blackpool. It was just amazing friendships. Went on to do West Side Story at school, loved that. Did Godspell at school, loved that, which is where I met, there was head of drama, head of music, and Miss Binge was my head of drama at that time. She's now our next door neighbour, Holly Hammond. But she, Miss Binge was my drama teacher there. We did Godspell. I met fantastic people throughout my time at school, both teachers and friends. And from all year groups, because I did those. When you do a performance within school, you get to know the people older than you, the people younger than you, and it brings everybody together, the theatre and music and acting. I got to my careers evening, and I just didn't have a clue what to do. I think at that point I wanted to be a professional opera singer. That's what I thought I wanted to do.
How did you... What made you go to opera and not just wanting to become a singer, like a pop singer, or what actually interested you in the opera? Because I know it's not now a very popular, it's not something maybe a lot of people listen to. So what was it about that drew you into the opera of music?
The singing teacher that I had in Lytham was an opera singer. So she taught all types of singers to sing. And I used to take her Phantom of the Opera, Les Miserables, Miss Saigon, those kind of musical theatre books to sing. But as I did my grades in singing, classical singing, that sort of started to open me up to a whole different genre of music. And she started giving me pieces of operatic music to look at, and I just fell in love with it because it's quite... I think I might have said this before on a podcast when I was interviewed a few months ago. It's quite simplistic in terms of its storyline, opera. It's love, it's hate, it's anger. It's a simple theme, but it's brought together by the complexity of the music and the orchestra and the voices that go on to perform that. So
it's giving me very Pretty Woman vibes when they go to the... when they fly in the helicopter and they go to watch the opera.
Yes, yeah.
That is what it's giving me.
Yeah, and it's a special place to be. I mean, the theatre is a special place to be, whether that's a play or a piece of musical theatre or opera. But opera, it moved me and I fell in love with it. But obviously when you go to your careers meeting, which you've recently had a similar experience, when you say to the careers officer, the lady there giving 15-minute appointments to all the children, I'd like to be an opera singer, it's not one they come across every day.
No.
And they don't really know which way to point you. And I was quite academic at school. I wasn't at the top of the class, but I was quite academic. And my singing teacher said to me, Jane, make sure the later you can go to music college, the longer you can allow your voice to mature. And also now with an older head on my shoulders, the more emotional intelligence and emotional just life experience you can have, the better it will be. And the longer you can leave it till going to music college, the better. But when you're hungry to be an opera singer, you want to go at 18, you really do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the right thing. And in the back of my mind, I had my mum and my dad and my singing teacher saying, make sure you've got a backup plan, because it might not work out, or it might not be for you, or whatever. So I decided to study music as very much a theoretical subject matter at university. I'd done Young Enterprise at school. So Young Enterprise is a fantastic project that runs within sixth form colleges and schools, and it was all about building a business and having a marketing, sales, finance, and managing director as part of it. You sort of act out those positions, and you launch your own product and your own service and make a business out of it. And with hindsight now, maybe I shouldn't have chosen music at university. I loved to sing. I don't think I was absolutely passionate about the subject of music.
And the in-depth things, it
wasn't for me. And I didn't really research the course well enough. In my mind, I'm just doing this as a stopgap to become a professional opera singer.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to music college after 3 years, and I'm going to be a professional opera singer. That's all I could see in my head. So no one in my family had ever gone to university. I didn't have very much guidance to know what to choose. But I do remember this, that my mum said when my A-level results came out, on the day my A-level results came out, my dad, ideally, I think he'd probably have liked me to have gone and done law or accountancy or one of those kind of roles. But my mum was very much follow your heart, follow what makes you happy, follow your passion. And so it was music I decided to end up doing at Sheffield University rather than going to Durham and doing a different course.
Yeah.
But the course wasn't for me. However, I had a ball. 3 years at Sheffield University and met the best friends that I've had for life since. And you know them, Auntie Alex, Auntie Jane, Sharon, Susie, who's coming on our podcast in a few weeks' time. There was they weren't all at my university, but I met them through Auntie Alex. And they are my lifelong friends, and I'm so lucky. And that was why, again, with hindsight, that's why I ended up in Sheffield, to meet those amazing people. So from after Sheffield Uni and doing that course, not really enjoying it, didn't make any friends with anybody really on my course, because all of the girls that I met and became friends with were on different courses. And I decided to take a year out before going to music college. So I auditioned at all the major music colleges, the Royal Northern, the Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, it's now called the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. There was the Welsh College of Music and, the London colleges. I didn't audition in London because what I decided was I wanted to study with a particular teacher. So I'm massive about it. Didn't matter about where I studied, it was that I was with the right teacher, because if you have the wrong teacher for your voice, so much damage can be done. And it's an internal instrument, and I'd heard such horror stories. So I chose a teacher that I wanted to study with. Her name was Jane Irwin, and I wanted to study with her, and I almost was going to follow her wherever she was going to be. And she was a working sort of global opera singer, so I didn't know where she would be when I was ready to go to music college. But it turned out she was at Glasgow, so I auditioned there, and they advised that I took a year out, bit more maturity, let my voice mature again, because the female voice matures and breaks similar to a man's voice, but much later in life, and you need that time for it to settle. So I went to the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, which was called the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. I took a year out and got a place for the following year.
Wow. Yeah.
But then what do you do in your year out? I mean,
Is this when you ran the London Marathon in your year out?
Sure is.
Bet you wasn't expecting that curveball, everybody.
I did run the London Marathon. That was bizarre. I mean,
Bizarre.
Bizarre because I'm not a runner and I'm not built like a runner. And I didn't even...
And do you know, I don't like when people say that, because what does a runner look like? I mean, everyone can run. It's just fast walking, let's be honest.
Liv, I did everything that I could have done to get out of PE at school. I never wanted to do the cross country. I used to hide from the teachers on the corridor, so I was a really good swimmer, but I didn't want to go to the swimming club.
Yeah,
at
but I
lunchtime.
feel like that's where people's like perception of running really like becomes negative at school, because you like have to do the cross country and the couch to 5k, and then everyone just sees running as like a bad, like horrible experience. But it's actually not if you do it like for a goal, as you said, to run the London Marathon. Like, it's massive.
Yeah, and I all I'm saying is, I know that the teachers at school that taught me PE were really shocked when they found out that I'd signed up to do the London Marathon. But this is the thing. I was going to the gym. I was always very hot on looking after my health and fitness, going to the gym, swimming, etc. And at the gym, I met a trainer there, and they were putting a team together for the London Marathon. They were raising money for the Children's Society, and they said, "Jane, will you join in?" I was like, I don't even know how far the marathon is. That's how little knowledge I had about it at that point. I was 21 and a half. And they said, "No, we're going to do it in April." It was in April. And I said, "Well, when do I need to start training?" And they said, "Probably pretty soon." So I started on Boxing Day, and I trained for the London Marathon having never run outside, except I'd only ever run on a treadmill around 4 miles.
Yeah.
And I started running outside from the Boxing Day, knowing that the date of the marathon, I think, was about the 22nd, 23rd of April at that point.
Wowzers.
So I had about 4 months to do it. And I got a plan, and I got magazines, and I wrote a training schedule, and I nailed it. I absolutely nailed it in that period of time. I had got 2 pairs of trainers, because people told me that it's better to have 2 pairs of trainers so that you don't wear one out and then you have to wear new ones on the marathon day. That's bad. You need to keep them even and then run in your best the trainers that are most comfortable. Socks. I had sports massages. Honestly, I absolutely loved it. And I actually will say that the London Marathon set me up for the resilience, the planning, the ability to nail a goal in business. Because it's not about your body being able to do it, it's your mind.
Yeah, that is the whole thing about running. People say, "Oh, I can't run because I'm not fit enough." Running is not a physical thing. It is a massive mental thing. And from you doing the London Marathon, like, as soon as I'm 18, I'll be running the London Marathon as well. Like, it's something that I really, really want to do.
I just think, it was phenomenally hard. The training was far harder than the actual day itself, because when you run the marathon, the crowds get you round. Mm-hmm. And I'd trained with some amazing people. My world opened up. I met a lot of people who were training for the marathon at the same time that I might not have normally come into contact with. To raise money for the Children's Society, we did a big last night of the Proms concert where I sang at the end. Aww. We had a brass band. We filled my old school theatre, West Home School Theatre, filled it with 500 people. A brass band, last night of the Proms, flags,
Aww.
Land of Hope and Glory, Rule Britannia. And so it was fabulous. That was my first experience of marketing something. I went on Radio Lancashire for the very first time. We did news articles, but with hindsight, again, it was kind of all coming together for what I now do in my role. It was just, but I didn't know it at the time. In my head, I'm going to be a professional opera singer. That's all I could think of. Mm. So we did Marathon Day. It was amazing. I did a really, really respectable time. I think it was 4 hours, 29 minutes, which was pretty respectable. There were cobbles were involved with the marathon then. So you had to, at about 20 miles, you had to run over cobbles. Oh my gosh. Agony. And I was almost crying. Hit the wall. They call it hitting the wall at one point, and I was in floods. And this gentleman came next to me who I didn't know, and he had a similar vest colour on to me. He said, "I'm running for the Children's Society too." And so he got me through the last 5 or 6 miles.
Yeah.
And as we turned the corner, me and him chatting away, and he really did get me through.
Aww.
I saw the finish line, and I was like, "I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to go." And I'll never forget that. And I feel really, really bad that I left him. I wasn't so much of a team player at that point, was I? And I just bombed it for the finish line, and it was just pure elation. What an amazing experience.
It just sounds amazing.
It was good. My family were all there. It was just absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, a couple of weeks after that, I'd got a planned operation on my foot.
Oh dear.
To remove a bunion. Should have been a very simple situation, and the bunion should have been removed very simply, although it was going to be a painful operation.
Yeah.
And I had the operation, I think it was like the 7th or 8th of May.
Did you always have this bunion on your foot, or was it due to marathon prep?
No, I'd always had the bunion, but obviously marathon prep didn't help it at all.
At all.
I could never put shoes on my feet very well, and it was just really...
Still, now you have to sometimes get a different size of shoe for each foot, two different sizes.
Well, look, I'm not going to go through that entire story, but it was basically 18 months of recovery from that operation because the bunion became infected after the operation. They didn't take the bandages didn't come off early enough. I ended up with septicemia, pneumonia, very, 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 very poorly in hospital. And afterwards, you know, all the way through the summer on crutches. I was on crutches, on and off crutches for a 12-month period. Second opinions that we needed, and I just had to postpone my opera course. I couldn't go in the September because I wasn't physically fit enough to be able to do it. And actually, when we sought a second opinion as to why my foot wasn't healing, it was still heavily infected in the bone, so something called osteomyelitis. And the surgeon who then took me under his wing was an amazing surgeon over in Manchester who worked with some of the footballers. And
this is the one that saw me, was it, when I cracked my kneecap?
That's the one.
Remember him?
Yeah, Mr. Ashok Paul, amazing orthopaedic surgeon. He started to remove all of this dead bone, and I had like 15 or 16 operations under general anaesthetic, and at one point he said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to save your foot. And that was tough because I was 22 years old. Couldn't drive, couldn't go and do my master's degree course.
Your leg could have been amputated.
My leg could have amputated, and they wouldn't have took it from the ankle, they'd have took it from below the knee. So that was tough. And however, a very long story short, I recovered. He got these magical antibiotic beans. He packed my foot with them. It cleared up the infection after the final op, and then he started to rebuild my foot with bone from my right hip.
And you still have 2 legs.
I do, and 2 feet, and no one would ever know that happened. But that was mental agility, I have to say, to get through that, and not easy. But fabulous friends, fabulous family, and you pull through and you come through the other side. So I eventually ended up in Glasgow, which was an amazing 2 years with incredible friends. You learn all sorts of languages, being training to be an opera singer: French, Latin, German, Italian, French, Russian. You have a language class within that subject, and then you also have song classes in that subject, and performances at the end of the year. So I did my postgraduate diploma, and then I did my master's. I just loved it. I loved Glasgow. Scotland is the most amazing country. I love the Glaswegians. We had an amazing time.
Amazing.
And I've still got friends now from that period of time.
Aww.
Loved it. Graduated, moved back to Blackburn.
Hey.
Obviously I was going out with your dad at the time. We got engaged, and I quickly, I think, realised that being a professional singer wasn't going to be for me.
Yeah.
And I think that was because, you know, living out of a suitcase, no, actually I wanted a family. I wanted to be married and have children and create a family. And I hated the auditions. I just couldn't bear the audition process. All of the practice, then to go in an audition room, then not to find out how you did, whether it went well or not, whether you'd got the role or not. The whole thing was so uncertain, and I just didn't enjoy it. And I knew really quickly that I didn't like that. I knew quickly that I needed to build an income because I obviously wanted a house, etc. And I started to teach. I'd done teaching modules at college. I'd done some teaching at college, and I fell in love with teaching.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. I taught in loads of different schools, up and down Lancashire, the Northwest. I absolutely loved it. I did workshops. I did all day Monday evenings till 9 o'clock, the same on a Tuesday, the same on a Wednesday, the same on a Thursday, the same on a Friday, Saturday, Sundays. I was just teaching. I had a studio at the front of our house and I absolutely loved it. In fact, the other day, I don't know if people saw my Instagram, I was with a guy called Lewis Rains, who's now in G4. And he was one of my first pupils when I'd come out of college. And he's now, you know, absolutely doing so well in the vocal group that he's a part of. I think they were on X Factor years ago.
Did they not win X Factor?
Yeah, maybe year one, yeah, but he wasn't part of the group at that point. He came in a few years later. But he came round to our house on Friday and literally started playing the piano. We were singing. He was like, "Tell me what to do, coach." I said, "I don't teach singing anymore, really." I said, and I don't really sing myself. But we had a great time. So I found a real passion in the teaching room. Children taught me more about me and my voice than I ever thought possible. I loved the connection we built. I loved helping them to succeed and achieve. And it was just an absolute pleasure.
Oh, wow. Which you can obviously tell, seeing as your unbelievable little voices now, which you can never forget when you're in this house, because there is Little Voices merchandise everywhere you look. We've got teddies, and my friend will be laughing to this because she absolutely, Ellie, if you're listening, I know that you are, you love the Little Voices merchandise. There's books, pens, teddies, certificates. It is absolutely everywhere, but it deserves to be because it's unbelievable.
It was quite hard, I suppose, transitioning from, I don't know, from wanting to be a professional opera singer to then accepting that I was going to be a teacher. That was quite a jump.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I can only relate it to sport, wanting to become a professional sports person and then you end up becoming a coach. Instead, it kind of feels not the same.
Yeah, I struggled with it, and I've spoken to other singers, and they're exactly the same, because so many people have supported you for so many years, both emotionally and financially, to head for your dream. You go to college, you absolutely are heading for the stage, but the reality once you leave college is that you're not going to be in La Scala singing on a main stage straight away, or the Royal Opera House, or on the West End stage if you've been to drama school. So the reality then is, actually, I've got to survive, I've got to pay my bills, I've got to find a different way. Often people work in bars or restaurants, or with real grit and determination stick with trying to make that career work, but you've got to want it so badly for that to be the case.
You have to be very, very passionate.
And very tunnel vision, and accept anything just to be on that stage. And actually, you know, it's not, when you have come from a really beautiful family and you want family yourself and you want a different kind of lifestyle, you know, that the two were in juxtaposition, complete juxtaposition. So it's, you know, it's really hard to we didn't talk about mental health in those days, but it is a journey of mental resilience and mental fitness. Yeah,
it is, and obviously clearly the London Marathon helped you with that and that resilience, because as we've talked about many times before, sport replicates life, and even though you weren't sporty at all and you still ran the London Marathon, and it was that I guess kind of helped you through that. Yeah,
absolutely. So I really think that, you know, I found teaching, and teaching was my home, and I absolutely loved it. But there was a journey of reconciliation with where I was going to go.
Yeah.
And I suppose after several years of teaching, and
then you got married
in 2005. In 2006, I found out that I was expecting a baby.
Me.
And that baby was going to be due 23rd of April 2007. That was your due date.
Which is not my birthday.
It's not your birthday, but yeah, so I think at that point I was teaching loads of children all day, Mondays, as I say, till late at night, every day of the week. And if someone couldn't come to a lesson, I was swapping them onto a different day. And, you know, I absolutely loved it. I was all over the place. I should also say, actually, that I was still doing a little bit on the side of the colour business that I'd run at university. So I took you for your colours, didn't I, Liv, in January?
Oh, yeah.
And you said that it changed your life about
clothes.
It did.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy. This place where we went to, I didn't even know this sort of thing existed. And I think you can go if you're a man or a woman, or and you basically they show you what colours suit you. So depending on how the colour reflects on your chin, and whether it like lifts your chin or whether it darkens your chin, and it shows you the necklines you should have, like your body shape and what kind of materials you should wear on your top half and your bottom half.
What kind of patterns, what kind of length
and
of
it was
sleeves.
Absolutely unbelievable. I got this little like palette of all these colours that like suited me the best. And then now when I'm terrible at shopping. I don't like going out shopping because I don't know what like suits me and not. And then you get into the changing rooms and then you're like, this looks awful and that looks awful, and you feel like nothing suits you. But now this little colour palette, I can just go on, see if that what I want to get matches the colour, and if it doesn't, I just move on. And then, it was unbelievable.
So I took you in January thinking, you know, you've got the prom coming up, maybe interviews for different colleges and whatever you do in later life. So I'd had my colours done before I'd gone to college, at music college, and I loved it because at that time all I ever wore was black. And my mum had took me to have my colours done because she'd had hers done, all her sisters had, her mum had. So I had my colours done. And whilst I'd been at college in Glasgow, I needed income. So I was cleaning, I was teaching, I was babysitting, and I did this colour course. And so I used to help the singers in college choose the right shades of dress and colours for them to perform in.
Yeah.
And when I moved back to Blackburn, obviously, I transitioned and still did a little element of that colour. Yeah. And I was going to build that into a business, but it just didn't grab me as much as teaching.
Yeah.
But that's where the colour thing comes from, and how I have such a connection with Colour Me Beautiful, and I absolutely love it. And makeup and colours and shades and blushes and all of that, it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
You do actually forget about it, obviously, because I haven't done it for over 20 years, and I'd sort of forgotten about it. But it was last year when we'd won an award with Little Voices, and I saw this lady in the same magazine that we'd been an article had been put in about us, and I thought, that'd be great for Liv to do.
Yeah.
And then it's obviously brought it back into our lives. So
which is super crazy because, like, obviously I'm not going to prom now, but if I was going to get a prom dress, like, knowing the shade of it's not like, I feel like my friends have asked me, it's like, why would I want to get it done if I'm going to be told that a colour doesn't suit me? But then it's not about that. It's about what shade of that colour suits you best. Not that you like can't wear black, but what shade of black is going to suit you best. And that, especially going out for any outfit, but like a prom dress, and knowing like the shade of a blue or the shade of a pink, and whether you look best in, I know that I don't suit a square neckline because of my big shoulders, but like a V neckline, or it's so helpful.
It is very powerful, and you're absolutely right. It's not about telling people you can't wear that colour. It's about what shade of that colour, because there's if you went and chose paint for a room, there's millions of paint shades that you can create. And it's knowing the gradients of shades and tones for you. So anyway, we sidetrack a little bit, but I was sort of doing that a little bit alongside the amount of teaching I was doing. But teaching certainly took over, and I absolutely loved it. I knew, though, that it wasn't fulfilling me in all areas. And what I mean by that was that I couldn't see myself still being sat at my piano at 85 years old with a silver bun in my hair. and everything, you know. So I just knew that there was something more. There was something else that I just wasn't totally settled.
Yeah.
And I'd been you were born. Obviously, we know from episode 1 that your dad and I separated when I was 6 months pregnant, and that was a very emotional, tough time, which I'm not going to go into. But obviously, you know, there was infidelity in that marriage, and we have never lived together as a family of 3.
No.
And you know all the ins and outs of that, and that's absolutely, you know, how it is. But in the April, I worked, because I was self-employed as a teacher, a freelance teacher, and with a little bit of the colours. And I worked all the way up until the day before you were born, and I had to be induced. So you were very late. You did not want to come out. And
my due date was the 23rd of April and my birthday is the 8th of May. So
yeah, you arrived the night of the 8th of May. You were really pushing all boundaries here. So yes, you eventually came, and I worked up until the 7th of May. I remember sat with a big sort of birthing ball at the piano, bouncing whilst I was teaching. Honestly, it's true. And I remember with the father of the children I was teaching that day, it was a Sunday, and they said, has this baby still not come yet, Jane? Because I had such amazing relationships with all the parents and children.
I was probably sleeping.
You probably were sleeping. Anyway, you arrived, and because I was obviously freelance and self-employed, within a few days, couple of weeks, I was back working again. Because we had to keep the mortgage paid and the roof over our heads, etc. And with family and friends and amazing support, you know, we got through that period of time. That summer, I'd been working with a couple of friends of mine on some musical theatre courses, teaching children again. And we went for a coffee with a friend of mine, and we sat round a coffee shop table in Blackburn. And she said, "Look, Jane, you know about running a business because you're already running a business as a freelance teacher. And I think that we should create, you know, a fabulous business that teaches children drama and singing. I'll teach the drama, you teach the singing. We'll do it in very small groups, because it's great going for one-to-one lessons with someone, but
you miss out on the social interaction with other people of your age."
Absolutely. So you don't have the social interaction. You are set up to then think that you're going to be, you know, I'm going to be a singer like I had. I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be a professional. But when you get to college, there's loads of singers.
Yeah.
And actually, when you get into performances, you've got to learn to work with other people and other voices and teamwork. And schools, as we've talked about on the podcast before, is enough about independent learning. You know, one-to-ones are great, but that team environment is important.
Yeah.
And the only other option of that was going to a big class of 20 or 30 children.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the social interaction thing, I was watching this video on saying even if you're an introvert, you need social interaction. Even if you don't like people or don't like talking, you still need the social interaction with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely loved the connection I had in a one-to-one lesson. You know, one of the people that I taught now is one of our franchisees at Little Voices, and we had amazing lessons every single week. And her mum used to look after you while I was teaching.
Oh, yeah.
And you used to do little shows in the front room when you were 2 and 3. But ultimately, you know, that it's important to have a team. So we created what is now known as Little Voices in that coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I said to my friend at the time, I said, when are you thinking we start this? I don't have any time. I'm literally on the road, teaching here, teaching there, teaching at home, coming back, feeding you, and I was breastfeeding you. And she said, well, next month, 18th of September, what night could you do? What night could you do? And I remember looking at it, and I'm thinking, I said, well, maybe a Tuesday at 6 o'clock. That's literally my only gap in the week. And she was like, right, 18th of September, 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock, we'll do 2 classes. And literally, we started this thing called Little Voices. We used a computer with Edwardian script writing that said Little Voices at the top. We had a little A4 piece of paper with some details about what it would be. And and how it would work. And she said, well, we worked on doing group Lambda exams. They just started and come into play.
And look at it now. Look at it now.
It's incredible.
You've got to be proud of that.
I'm really proud. But I'm really proud.
And you should be.
But do you know what? It's really interesting because, and again, every child, I think this is one of our values. So now, yes.
Can I just say to everyone who is listening, she's actually crying at this point in time. Which shows how much she absolutely loves her business.
I absolutely love Little Voices. Because that unique environment of a child coming each week in a group of 8 children, which is the optimum number for absolute excellence in any teamwork situation, in business, in workplaces, in putting people in groups. It's such a special place to be. And unless you have been in one of our teaching rooms and felt it for yourself,
you've no idea what it's like.
It's really hard to explain.
Oh, yeah.
If you went into a candle shop and you had this kind of candle, or you had a white company candle, or you had if you looked at a ring, you could smell, feel, experience, and understand why that is what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to explain, and that's why we have our free trial lesson. So any child can come along and have a trial lesson and feel what that environment feels like, because honestly, it's special. And the results we get out of it, it's not about a child being a West End star. Believe you me, I've got loads of success stories that I can talk about. And
it makes me really happy is that's not... People think, they're going to a singing drama class, they're going to be like musical theatre stars, they're going to be like playing Elphaba and Wicked or something like that. And that is so not what it's about at all.
It's not. You've gone since you were 4 years old.
And I have no intention of being a musical theatre star.
But ultimately it's about friendships. It's about having a safe space. There was someone very prolific that I worked with for many years within Little Voices. I'm very conscious of not to mention too many people's names in episodes, but there's a lot of very important people that have been on this journey with me, are still on it, may have got off the journey at certain times, but mean a lot to me and have helped shape the business. Yeah. And it was about having a creatively safe, fun and happy environment. And we have that, and children make friends for life. We have children who go on to be West End stars. I could name loads. We've had young girls who have gone on to theatre school and played amazing roles in Dubai, on the West End stage, some globally on stages around the world. But it's not about that. Every child has something amazing to share. And in that small group, we can unpick and give those children a time to find their voice.
Yeah.
And that will help with auditions, but it will also help with interviews, with presentations, with putting your hand up at school, with going to high school and meeting new friends, with going to an environment where you're not just with the people that you spend every single day with.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. What I love is you went to visit one of your franchisees last week, and I remember you came home and told me about these 2 children that had come out of a Little Voices lesson. They were like minis, weren't they? Mm-hmm. And this little girl came out and told Mum, she said, every time I come to Little Voices, my head and my heart just feel happy. And I was like, that is so gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what she told her mum, and then the mum had messaged the franchisee and said, when I come out of Little Voices, my head and my heart feel happy. And that to me means more than anything. I'd love for parents to you drop your child off at school. I've dropped you off at school for years, and teachers, in the profession are really caring, really passionate, but they've only got a minuscule amount of time. And if you're in a class of 30, you're not going to get loads of individual attention time because it's just physically not possible. You've got to get through the curriculum. You've got to get, so to have that time every single week in a very small class with a teacher who's spending that one-on-one time with you and learning to be part of a team, which again you don't get at schools. We've talked about on the podcast previously.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Like even now, my group of Little Voices where I go to on a Thursday night, unbelievable. I've been going since I was 4 years. Oh, I started when I was 3, but because, yes, it is 4 to 18, but because I feel like I can't speak sentences at the moment.
But because you were
I was your daughter,
you came
so
along
I came at 3 because that just is me in a nutshell, really. And
if I'm being honest, I needed you to be somewhere straight after school. So your grandma used to pick you up from school and then bring you to the Little Voices Centre, and you sort of just started to get involved with minis.
And the theatre weeks that they have in half term, 4 days to put on a show. I remember they've now come out with these little badges on, if you do a theatre week you get a badge, and I say don't bother giving me badges because I've done about 60, you'll run out of badges, because I have actually done that many because I love it so much. And I'm now on, you go up to grade 8, and when you get to grades, is it 7 and 8, you get in your exam you have a pass, merit and distinction, and depending on what mark you get points for university. UCAS points to get into university. So me and my friend Ellie, who's definitely listening because she's a religious listener, she listens every Monday, I know she does, she tells me, we're going on to our grade 8 this year. And I mean, we are crazy. Our exam is the day before our first GCSE exam, which is a bit, some people would say that's stupid, because really I would love to be revising, but I just know because I'm going up to 18, when I do this grade 8 exam and I've done it, the next 2 years at Little Voices I can spend just singing and doing group performances and just absolutely having loads of fun, as I always do.
And and that was the other thing, that because the lessons are not like hours and hours on a Saturday or a Sunday or at
45 minutes.
45 minutes or half an hour for the minis, it's enough time to have complete concentration and individual focus and attention on you. But also you can continue to fit it into your life, all the way through the stressful times of school. And it can fit in but not impact on the weekends when you've got family parties, family away, you have to revise, or you've got other activities. So that's the way it's been designed. And I absolutely, every single one of our teachers, of our franchisees across the country, they've all they're bursting with stories about the impact that we have.
Yeah.
So to do a job every single day, when you jump out of bed and you know that you're having an impact and making a difference,
it's unbelievable.
Is actually really, really special. And I'm very privileged and I'm very honoured to have this role. Obviously, it didn't become a national business overnight. It's been very, very difficult, very hard.
Yeah.
A huge amount of investment of time, energy, money, support from other people, risks like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But is it worth it?
Definitely.
100%. Would I do it again? 100%. Have I learnt lots? Absolutely. I literally could
talk
forever. But we're sat in a room now doing this podcast, Liv. We're just surrounded by.
Can I say surrounded by certificates? I know that's not what it's about.
It's not.
But it just shows you how unbelievable it is and how much. And you absolutely deserve the recognition for it because it is that unbelievable.
Well, it's lovely, and a lot of these awards have been won because of parents recommending us, parents voting for us, franchisees giving us their honest, anonymous feedback. The big pinnacle of last year was winning the Oscars in franchising, which is the British Franchising Awards, and not me winning it, but seeing one of our franchisees win it for our family. We call it the Little Voices family. It was beyond anything I can ever describe. When I go back to that coffee shop in Blackburn in 2007 and think there would be someone on the stage with video footage behind them talking with the passion, care, love about Little Voices like our franchisee was on that day, honestly, it was beyond anything
Yeah.
I could ever imagine. But definitely, if you asked me, and I did mention this on social media just recently, if someone asked me what the best part of my job was, it's being in the classroom with those children and seeing their eyes and seeing them light up and me giving them that care and attention. It's not about drama and singing. It's not about setting them up to shine on the stage. It's about life skills.
Yeah, and it 100% does that. And obviously that brings you up, guys, to where we are right now. I mean, that's pretty much you, I would say, in a nutshell. I don't think you've really missed anything out. I think that is totally who you are in your life.
I think you're probably right. It's where my wanting to be an opera singer came from, and where I've actually ended up. I feel really lucky. I'm surrounded by the best people, not just family and friends, but the Little Voices family and my mentors and people around me. And I think if something I would say is choose the people who surround you really carefully, and ensure that I always got fabulous advice and help from people that said, pay it forward, Jane. Whatever, if you can do this for someone else, do it. And I try and do that a lot within my work and in my everyday life. So I wear the hat of the Children's Activities Association, because what parents don't often realise is that activities that you send your children to are not checked by anybody often. So they presume that Ofsted or the Department of Education is checking up on activity providers, but people can set themselves up in karate, cricket, swimming, singing, drama, ballet, and not have the right things in place because no one's actually checking you. So I'm part of the Children's Activities Association, the CAA, and it's about giving parents and schools peace of mind that if they see that kite mark or that badge of honour, they know that that company has gone through a level of compliance that meets a certain standard. And I'm passionate about that for the whole industry, not just Little Voices, but for all children, because at the core of me, children are at the heart of what I do. And so they've got to be safe. So it's really important. So I wear that hat with pride, sitting on the board of the CAA, raising standards, lobbying government, talking to other providers and helping us all to raise the standards for children. So that's a really important part of I suppose what I do.
I think that's everything.
Do you? Do you
I really do.
Are you wanting to wrap this episode up? I think it's probably gone on long enough. Have you any questions for me?
I don't have any questions, but I will say to the people that listen to the end, there is now going to be a lovely little, possibly a duo. I might decide to sing along as well. We're going to put a little clip in. We're going to edit in at the end here of a little song sung by the one and only Mrs. Jane James, and possibly a contribution from me as well. So if you would like to listen to that, then stay on, and it'll be just after we've wrapped this episode up. So I think this has been awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, school run memory, Grandma's going to ask, why didn't you do
because we've talked about our school run memory.
We have, but I think I'm just going to say that there's two sentences that stick in my mind. Not necessarily coming from my school run, but from my parents. And one of them was, you get out of life what you put in. Mm-hmm. My mum always says that. And my dad says, you're only heading in one direction.
I love Grandpa.
I know. So, I suppose a lot of people always say, I've never heard you sing, Jane. So
here you are, guys. This is going to be an absolute exclusive.
Secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing Alleluia. I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Maybe there's a God above, and all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew ya. It's not a cry you can hear at night. It's not someone who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of The School Run. If this is your first time that you've listened to us, please feel free to go back and listen to some other episodes on our channel. Why are we doing this? Well, we really feel that you don't have to have it all figured out at school. The world is your oyster. There is only you in your way. So by sharing people's stories, the roles that they do, we really hope to inspire young people, empower them to fly. It's a privilege to have these conversations. They're incredibly inspirational to both Liv and myself. We really need your help though. Thank you for your support so far, but if you could hit the follow button on the channel that you're listening to our podcast on, maybe leave us a review, give us a bit of a star rating. We would be really, really appreciative. Lots of people have already bought us a virtual coffee. You can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/the school run. That's buymeacoffee.com/the school run. And obviously we've got an Instagram, as Liv's already told you, @theschoolrun_official. All the things that you can do to help support us would be very, very much appreciated. Please chat with a friend, share this link, and hopefully we can spread the word of the school run to lots more families and young people. Thank you so much for your support.